The mind is everything, what you think you become. Buddha. Are you tired of constantly chasing happiness and success, but still feeling empty inside? Do you find yourself searching for peace, but no matter what you achieve, it always seems just out of reach? What if I told you that everything you've been looking for has always been within you? Hello and welcome back to our channel. I'm so glad you're here with us today. If you've ever felt like something is missing in your life, or if you've been chasing success, wealth, or validation, you're not alone. In fact, this feeling of lack is something so many of us experience, especially as we get older. But here's the good news. There's a solution. In this video, we're going to explore the concept of enlightenment, not as some distant, unattainable goal, but as a realization that can bring you true peace. We'll dive into how understanding the simple truth can transform the way you experience life and help you stop seeking outside of yourself for fulfillment. Imagine living each day without the constant pressure to achieve more, feel more, or be more. Wouldn't that be freeing? At Son.Mindfulness, we're here to guide you on a journey toward inner peace and self-discovery. We believe that mindfulness is the key to living a happy, balanced life. Our content focuses on spiritual growth, self-awareness, and practical ways to bring mindfulness into your daily routine. I invite you to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on more valuable insights. By subscribing, you'll get the tools to transform your life and connect with your true self. Together, we can explore how to find the peace that's already within us. We wish you health, peace, happiness, and good fortune on your journey. Now, let's get into the heart of today's topic. You may have heard of enlightenment, but what does it really mean? And how can it end the constant seeking that leaves us feeling unfulfilled? Stay with us until the end to discover how enlightenment can change the way you live and help you find the peace you've been searching for. Let's dive in. Chapter 1. What awakening truly feels like. The end of the feeling of lack. For many of us, life can often feel like a quest. We search, we chase, we try to fill an emptiness we can't quite define. Maybe it's the desire for success, love, wealth, or even peace of mind. We might feel as though something is missing, as if we are incomplete. In our daily lives, this feeling of lack often drives us to keep seeking, hoping that once we find that something, we'll feel whole. But enlightenment isn't about discovering something new or about finding that elusive missing piece. Rather, it's the recognition that we've had everything we needed all along. Imagine it like searching for your glasses only to realize they've been perched on your head the entire time. The search wasn't necessary. Everything was already in place. The emptiness we feel is not because we lack something, it's because we've been looking for the wrong thing. This subtle but powerful shift is what enlightenment truly feels like. It's not the acquisition of a new treasure, but the realization that the treasure has always been with us. It's like returning home after a long journey, only to discover that you've been at home all along, just unaware of it. The subtle shift. You might be wondering, how does this shift happen? How does one go from feeling incomplete to realizing that they've always been complete? The answer lies in the way we perceive our world and ourselves. Before enlightenment, we are driven by the sensation that we are lacking. We believe that something must be attained, something must be achieved, and only then will we feel fulfilled. We live in a constant state of striving. But enlightenment is the end of this perpetual search. It's the moment when we stop seeking and start seeing the truth of our existence. Think of a runner who, exhausted, has been running in circles, chasing after an illusion of fulfillment. One day, they stop and turn around. They realize they were always where they needed to be. No more chasing, no more striving. The chase itself is what kept them from realizing the truth. Enlightenment is simply the end of that chase. Describing the feeling, enlightenment isn't a grand event. nor is it accompanied by fireworks or an explosion of light. It's far more subtle, and its impact is quiet, gentle. It's like the relief of letting go of something that has been weighing you down for years, like the tightness in your shoulders melting away after a long day. Imagine for a moment that you've been clenching your jaw for years without realizing it. It's a small but persistent tension that becomes part of your experience. Then one day, you become aware of it and, without effort, release it. That's the feeling of enlightenment. It's not a dramatic transformation, but a subtle release. You don't suddenly know everything, nor do you gain an all-encompassing wisdom. What happens is that the pressure to figure it out fades. The mental burden of constant searching disappears, leaving room for peace. Enlightenment is not about achieving something external, but about releasing internal barriers. The mind becomes calm and unburdened. The confusion of constant seeking dissolves. And with it comes a deep sense of peace. Peace that was there all along, just waiting to be recognized. Real-life example. Let me tell you a story about someone you might find familiar. Steve Jobs, the co-founder of Apple. Jobs was known for his relentless pursuit of innovation and success. His entire life was focused on creating and achieving, always striving for the next big thing. But towards the end of his life, Jobs had a different perspective. He realized that all the success in the world, all the wealth and fame, didn't bring him the peace he had been searching for. In one of his final interviews, he shared a deep realization. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward. What he meant was that, in his search for success, he had never stopped to appreciate the journey. He had spent so much time looking for the next breakthrough that he failed to see the value in what he already had. Eventually, in his final moments, Jobs came to understand that the fulfillment he had been seeking wasn't found in his achievements, but in the moments of stillness, in the quiet awareness of being. He had always been complete, even when he was chasing external validation. Jobs' story is a powerful example of how we often spend our lives searching for something outside of ourselves, only to realize that the peace we seek is already within us. The spacious mind. Once the illusion of lack dissolves, the mind becomes spacious. It feels as though the clutter, the constant chatter of thoughts, no longer takes up space. It's like cleaning out a room that was once crowded with things you didn't need, only to realize that the room was always large enough. The mind after enlightenment is not empty. It is simply clear and open. Thoughts come and go, but they don't dominate. You no longer feel the pressure to hold on to every thought, every piece of information. You are no longer burdened by the need to solve every problem or answer every question. Picture a vast sky, endless and open. Clouds drift across, but they do not disrupt the sky itself. The mind after enlightenment is like this sky, open and expansive. Thoughts, like clouds, may appear, but they no longer define the space. You are not your thoughts, you are the awareness in which they arise. This clarity and freedom from attachment to thought is what gives rise to the peace that comes with enlightenment. The self is not separate. Perhaps one of the most profound realizations in enlightenment is the fading of the sense of a separate self. Before enlightenment, we see ourselves as distinct from the world around us. We believe that our experiences belong to us, that we are the ones who control them, and they are the result of our efforts. But when the self begins to fade, something extraordinary happens. We begin to experience life without the constant filter of me and mine. We no longer view experiences through the lens of a personal identity. Instead, we become fully immersed in the experience itself. Imagine listening to music. When you are truly absorbed in the music, you don't think about the person who is listening. There is no I in the experience. There is just the music, flowing freely and beautifully. This is what enlightenment feels like. You are not separate from your experiences. You are one with them, There is no longer a need for the internal commentary that constantly judges, analyzes, or labels. In the moments of enlightenment, life becomes fluid and connected. There is no more separation between you and the world around you. You are simply a part of the whole, fully present in each moment. As we continue this journey through the path of enlightenment, we will move from understanding the shift in perception to understanding the deeper peace that comes with this realization. In the next chapter, we will explore the relationship between enlightenment and nirvana, the peace that remains after awakening. Stay tuned for Chapter 2, Enlightenment and Nirvana, the Difference. Chapter 2, Enlightenment and Nirvana. The difference. What is enlightenment? Enlightenment is often misunderstood as an ultimate achievement, a grand moment when everything suddenly becomes clear. But at its core, enlightenment is not about reaching a destination. It's about awakening to reality as it truly is. It's the end of illusion, the realization that much of what we have believed to be true is simply a product of our perceptions and attachments. It's the ability to see things as they are, free from the lens of personal desire, fear, or ego. Imagine walking in a fog for years, unable to see clearly. You are aware of shapes and shadows, but the true nature of the world around you remains hidden. One day, the fog lifts and you see the world as it is, a bright, clear landscape full of possibility. That's what enlightenment feels like. It's the moment when confusion and misunderstanding dissolve, and you begin to see things clearly, without the distortions caused by your own mind. Enlightenment is not an abstract concept, it's a shift in perception. It's the awareness that everything is interconnected, and that we are not separate from the world around us. It's a deep understanding that life is fleeting, that everything changes, and that suffering comes from clinging to things that are impermanent. Enlightenment is the clarity that comes with this realization. Nirvana, the peace after awakening. While enlightenment is the awakening to the truth, nirvana is the peace that follows. Enlightenment brings clarity, an understanding of the true nature of reality, but nirvana is the cessation of suffering. The ultimate peace that arises when we no longer grasp at the fleeting experiences of life. To illustrate this difference, think of enlightenment as opening a door to a beautiful, serene garden. The door represents the moment of awakening, the realization that everything has always been interconnected, and that suffering comes from clinging to illusions. Once the door is open, you step into the garden, where peace surrounds you. This is nirvana, the peace that follows enlightenment, the absence of suffering, the freedom from the endless cycle of craving and aversion. While enlightenment ends confusion, nirvana ends suffering. It's not about gaining something new or achieving a goal. It's about uncovering what has always been there. The peace that arises when we stop chasing after what is not ours to hold. Nirvana is not a place you travel to, but a state of being that is revealed when the conditions for suffering are no longer present. The end of attachment. One of the most profound aspects of enlightenment is the end of attachment. Before enlightenment, our emotions, thoughts, and experiences are often intertwined with our sense of self. We identify with our happiness, our anger, our sadness, and even our joy. These emotions feel personal, as though they define who we are. But after enlightenment, emotions still arise. They are natural human experiences. However, they no longer define us. Enlightenment allows us to experience emotions without the burden of personal attachment. Anger, joy, fear, sadness, these emotions come and go like clouds passing across the sky. But they no longer hold us captive. We no longer cling to them or identify with them. Imagine a storm sweeping across the sky. The storm is real, it causes rain, thunder, and winds, but it does not last forever. Once the storm passes, the sky returns to its natural state of calm. Similarly, emotions arise and pass, but the mind remains calm, untouched by the storm. This is the freedom that comes with enlightenment. the ability to experience life fully without being overwhelmed by it. Pain and suffering. While physical pain remains a part of the human experience, enlightenment changes the way we relate to pain. Before enlightenment, pain is often accompanied by mental suffering. When we experience pain, we often create a story around it. Why me? This isn't fair. I shouldn't be in pain. This mental narrative turns physical pain into suffering, making it far more difficult to bear. But after enlightenment, the story around pain dissolves. Pain is no longer something to resist or fight against. It becomes just what it is, an experience in the body, something we feel, but not something that defines us or controls us. Take a moment to think about this. If you've ever experienced physical pain, you've probably noticed that your mind automatically attaches thoughts to it. You may have thought, this pain will never end, or I can't handle this. But when the mental story is removed, what remains is simply the sensation of pain. Without the mental overlay, pain becomes less intense, less overwhelming. It is simply felt, not resisted, not feared. Even intense pain can be experienced without suffering once we stop feeding it with negative thoughts and stories. This is the transformative power of enlightenment, the ability to experience pain yet remain free from the mental suffering that usually accompanies it. Real-life story. Consider the story of the famous Buddhist monk, Thich Nhat Hanh, who despite living through war, exile, and suffering, spoke about peace and love with incredible clarity. Thich Nhat Hanh was once injured during the war, and he experienced both physical pain and the emotional toll of his surroundings. Yet, in his writing, he often shared how he found peace in the midst of this suffering. He described how, even in moments of intense pain, he could remain calm, simply observing the pain without attaching any story to it. He realized that the pain was temporary and that the mental suffering that often accompanies pain is a choice. By simply being with the pain, without resistance, it lost its power to control him. This is the essence of enlightenment, the ability to experience the full range of human emotions and sensations without being trapped by them. In the next chapter, we'll explore the connections between enlightenment, nirvana, and the concept of self. We'll delve deeper into how enlightenment dissolves the sense of a separate self and reveals the interconnectedness of all things. Stay tuned for Chapter 3, The Self is Not Separate, The Dissolution of Ego. Chapter 3, Enlightenment Across Other Spiritual Traditions. The universal theme, enlightenment, is a universal experience shared across various spiritual traditions. Though each tradition uses different language and metaphors, the underlying theme is the same: the realization that we are not separate from the universe or the divine. Whether in Hinduism, Christianity, Islam, Taoism, or Buddhism, the ultimate goal is to awaken to the interconnectedness of all things and dissolve the illusion of separateness. In all these paths, enlightenment signifies the recognition that the self is not isolated, but a part of a larger, interconnected whole. Let's explore how different spiritual traditions describe this awakening and the union with the divine. Hinduism and Aham Brahmasmi. In Hinduism, the concept of Aham Brahmasmi translates to "I am the Absolute," or "I am one with the divine." This teaching reflects the realization that the individual self, Atman, is not separate from the universal self, Brahman. It's like a wave realizing it is not separate from the ocean, but an expression of it. Imagine a wave moving across the ocean's surface, rising and falling. The wave may seem separate, but in reality, it's part of the ocean itself. Similarly, when we awaken to the truth of Aham Brahmasmi, the illusion of separateness dissolves. We see that we are not separate from the divine or the universe. We are an integral part of the whole. Islamic mysticism, Fana. In Sufism, the concept of Fana describes the dissolution of the ego and the merging with divine love. Fana means annihilation or dissolution, and it represents the loss of the individual self in the divine presence. Sufi mystics often use the metaphor of a drop of water dissolving into the ocean. The drop no longer exists as an independent entity, it merges completely with the vast ocean. This is how Fana works. When the ego dissolves, there is no longer a separate self, only the infinite divine love that permeates all things. Christian mysticism, union with God. In Christian mysticism, the goal is to unite with God through surrendering one's personal will to the divine will. Mystics like Saint Teresa of Avila and Saint John of the Cross describe this union as a deep, intimate relationship with God, where the individual self aligns fully with the divine. This union is not about losing one's identity, but about transforming the self to become an instrument of God's love. It's about allowing God's presence to flow through every aspect of life, experiencing peace, love, and unity with the divine. In this state, there is a deep sense of belonging and fulfillment in knowing that we are part of God's eternal love. Taoism. Wu-Wei Taoism offers a different perspective through the concept of Wu-Wei, which translates to non-action or effortless action. Rather than striving or forcing outcomes, Taoism teaches us to live in harmony with the Tao, the natural flow of life. Imagine a leaf floating down a river. It doesn't struggle or fight the current, it simply flows along with it. This is the essence of Wu-Wei, living without force or resistance, allowing life to unfold naturally. In Taoism, enlightenment is about being fully present in each moment, moving with life's flow rather than resisting it. Buddhism's emptiness. Buddhism offers a unique understanding of enlightenment through the teaching of emptiness, shunyata. Emptiness doesn't mean nothingness. It means that everything is interdependent. Nothing exists independently. Everything is interconnected, constantly changing and arising in relation to one another. When we awaken to the truth of emptiness, we realize that the illusion of separateness falls away. We see that everything, including ourselves, is part of an intricate web of interdependence. This realization dissolves attachment and suffering, as we no longer cling to things as permanent or unchanging. Example: consider the story of Ravi, a man who spent his life exploring different spiritual traditions in search of truth. He began his journey studying Hinduism and meditating on Aham Brahmasmi, seeking to understand the nature of the self. He then turned to Sufism, contemplating the idea of Fana, and felt the deep connection with divine love. Later, Ravi explored Christian mysticism and the idea of union with God, surrendering his will to divine love. Finally, he discovered Taoism and the practice of Wu-Wei, learning to live in harmony with the flow of life. Through his exploration, Ravi realized that each of these paths led to the same truth. We are not separate from the divine or the universe. Each tradition spoke of the interconnectedness of all things and the dissolution of the ego. In the end, Ravi found peace by embracing the realization that enlightenment is not confined to any one path, but is a universal truth shared across all spiritual traditions. In the next chapter, we will explore how enlightenment dissolves the illusion of the self, revealing the interconnectedness of all beings. Stay tuned for Chapter 4, The Self is Not Separate, The Dissolution of Ego. Chapter 4, Can we talk about enlightenment without being enlightened? Spiritual honesty. Discussing enlightenment without having experienced it firsthand can be challenging. How can we speak about something so profound without truly understanding it? It's important to acknowledge that true spiritual exploration comes from a place of humility and curiosity, not from claiming to have all the answers. Spiritual honesty involves recognizing that enlightenment is not something we can fully comprehend with our minds. It's a lived experience, and no matter how much we study or meditate, the depth of it remains beyond words. However, this doesn't mean we shouldn't explore the idea. True spiritual exploration begins with a humble approach, being open to learning, to asking questions, and to not needing immediate answers. Authentic exploration. The pursuit of enlightenment should not be about impressing others or accumulating special knowledge. Many people fall into the trap of wanting to be seen as wise or enlightened, seeking validation from others. But the essence of enlightenment is in honest inquiry and self-reflection, not in boasting or seeking admiration. Authentic exploration is about the journey, not the destination. It's about asking questions without needing immediate answers, letting go of the ego's need to be right, and embracing the mystery of life. Enlightenment isn't a badge to wear, but a continuous process of shedding illusions and discovering deeper truths within. The recognition of truth. Enlightenment isn't about intellectual understanding. It's about a deep, intuitive recognition of what is already true. We may spend years seeking wisdom through books and teachings, but the true essence of enlightenment comes when we stop searching and begin recognizing the truth within ourselves. This recognition isn't something we gain, it's something we uncover. The truth is already in our hearts, waiting to be seen. It's the moment when we stop trying to understand everything and simply allow ourselves to be open to what is. Enlightenment is a shift in perception, a recognition of the present moment, and the realization that we've always had the answers inside us. Testing authentic spiritual guidance. With so many claiming to be enlightened, how can we know who is truly living an authentic spiritual path? The Buddha encouraged his followers to test everything for themselves, to see if it leads to peace and freedom from suffering. The key to evaluating spiritual guidance lies not in titles or followers, but in observing the actions and intentions of the teacher. Do they live their teachings? Do they act with humility and authenticity? Or do they seek power, recognition, and followers? True spiritual teachers don't need to impress anyone. Their wisdom isn't in their words, but in their way of being. When we look at their lives, we should ask, do they inspire us to live with greater peace, compassion, and authenticity? Story of a humble teacher. There's a story of a Zen master named Hakuin who exemplified spiritual humility. One day, a young man asked him, "Master, how can I attain enlightenment?" Hakuin simply pointed to a tree and said, "Look at the tree." The young man was confused, asking, "But what does that mean? How do I achieve enlightenment?" Hakuin repeated, "Look at the tree." In that moment, the young man realized that enlightenment isn't about intellectual understanding. It's about simply being present and seeing things as they are. Hakuin didn't need to explain anything with words. His life was his teaching, and by living authentically, he led others to the truth without ever forcing it upon them. In the next chapter, we will explore the dissolution of the self and how enlightenment reveals the interconnectedness of all beings. Stay tuned for Chapter 5, Enlightenment and the End of the Self. Chapter 5, Enlightenment, the End of All Seeking, Not an Achievement. Enlightenment is not an achievement to be earned or a title to be claimed. It is not about climbing the spiritual ladder or attaining something outside of ourselves. In fact, the essence of enlightenment is the recognition that we've always been complete. For so long, we may have felt like we were missing something, as if there was a piece of ourselves that we needed to find. We chase after external goals, success, wealth, fame, love, believing that once we attain these things, we'll finally feel whole. But enlightenment is the moment we realize that we've been whole all along. There is no grand achievement. There is no final destination. Instead, there is only the quiet realization that everything we've been seeking is already inside us. Enlightenment is not about attaining something new. It's about releasing the illusion that we ever lacked anything. It's the end of seeking, the end of striving. It is the recognition that we've always been at home, within ourselves. The freedom from desire. One of the most liberating aspects of enlightenment is freedom from desire. When we stop seeking, we stop chasing after things outside of ourselves. Desire often drives us to look for fulfillment in external achievements or possessions. We think, if I could just have this one thing, then I'd be happy. But true freedom comes when we let go of the need to attain or become something. When we stop seeking validation, success, or external accomplishments, we release the grasping that fuels our desires. This is not to say that we stop living or acting in the world, but that we stop seeking happiness in things outside of ourselves. We realize that peace, joy, and contentment don't come from what we have, but from who we are. The desire to achieve, to be someone else, fades away as we embrace the truth that we are already complete. There's nothing left to chase. In that space, we find freedom. The peace of not seeking. Once we stop seeking, peace emerges naturally. This peace isn't something we strive for or attain. It's the realization that it's always been here. When we stop trying to get somewhere or achieve something, we stop the internal restlessness. We stop the constant motion of the mind that says, I need this, I need that. Instead, we come to rest in the present moment. We let go of the pursuit of external goals and allow ourselves to simply be. This is the peace that arises when we stop seeking. It's the quiet, still joy that emerges from simply being aware of the world as it is, without needing to change it. Enlightenment is the peace that comes when we recognize that we are not missing anything and we don't need to go anywhere to find peace. It's already here. Real-life example. Take the example of Sarah, a woman who spent her entire life chasing achievements. She worked tirelessly to build her career, win accolades, and impress others. But no matter how much she accomplished, she always felt empty, as if something was still missing. She kept striving for the next success, the next big thing, thinking that would finally bring her the peace and fulfillment she longed for. One day, after a period of deep reflection, Sarah realized that the endless chase was the very thing preventing her from experiencing peace. She had been so focused on obtaining external validation that she had neglected the quiet peace within herself. In that moment of realization, something shifted. She stopped seeking, stopped chasing after external markers of success, and began to turn inward. She found that peace didn't come from accomplishments or praise, but from simply being still with herself. Sarah's story is a powerful example of how the search for fulfillment can keep us in a constant state of restlessness. Once we stop seeking outside of ourselves, we realize that peace is already within us. The hidden jewel. There's a beautiful metaphor that illustrates this point perfectly. Imagine a person who has been searching their entire life for a precious jewel. They search far and wide, believing that this jewel will bring them happiness and fulfillment. They exhaust themselves, thinking that they can't be at peace until they find this jewel. Then one day, they stop searching, they sit down and, to their surprise, feel something heavy in their pocket. They pull it out and discover that the precious jewel they've been searching for all their life has been with them all along. It was hidden in their pocket the entire time, but they couldn't see it because they were too busy looking outside themselves. This jewel symbolizes the peace and wholeness that we've been seeking. It's always been there, waiting for us to realize it, but we've spent our lives chasing after things outside of ourselves. Once we stop searching, we realize that everything we need is already here. In the next chapter, we will explore how enlightenment is a return home, a return to the true nature of who we are. Stay tuned for conclusion. Enlightenment is coming home. Conclusion. Enlightenment is coming home. As we come to the end of our exploration of enlightenment, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned. Enlightenment is not about achieving something new. It is about recognizing that we have always been complete. It's the end of seeking and striving, the realization that peace has been within us all along. We stop looking outside ourselves for validation, happiness, or success. Instead, we discover that these qualities are already present within. Throughout this journey, we've seen how different spiritual traditions speak of the same truth. In Hinduism, it's the realization of being one with the universe. In Sufism, It's the merging with divine love. Christian mysticism speaks of union with God, while Taoism teaches us to flow with the natural current of life. And in Buddhism, we learn about the interdependence of all things, embracing the emptiness that connects everything. But no matter the path, the core message remains the same. We are not separate from the world, and peace is always within our reach. The search for happiness and fulfillment ends when we realize that we already have everything we need. I want to express my deepest gratitude to you for being a part of this journey. It is not easy to challenge our beliefs and explore new truths, but you have taken the time to dive into these teachings, to reflect, and to open your heart to the possibility of living a more peaceful and fulfilling life. I congratulate you for recognizing the value in these lessons. This is just the beginning. True enlightenment comes from applying these teachings in your own life. It's not about intellectual understanding, but about daily practice and experience. How can you integrate these insights into your daily routine? What steps can you take to stop seeking externally and begin the journey inward? I encourage you to reflect on these questions and try to implement them in your own life. Each moment offers an opportunity for self-awareness, peace, and growth. The real transformation happens when you live from this place of understanding. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video and reflect on the wisdom shared. If you found these teachings valuable, I invite you to subscribe to the Son.Mindfulness channel for more content like this. Please leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear how these insights have resonated with you. Your journey is personal, and sharing your experiences can inspire others. Remember, peace and fulfillment are not distant goals. They are already within you. By living mindfully and embracing the present, you can continue your journey toward enlightenment every day. I wish you all health, peace, happiness, and good fortune as you walk this path. May you always find contentment in the simplicity of being and the joy of knowing that you are already whole. Thank you again for your time, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you.